Avatar Aang ended the 100 Years' War that divided the four nations, and Avatar Korra had to struggle to keep those nations together. But what happened before Legend of Korra? Well, as it turns out, there is a pretty long and storied history between Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Today we're going to take a look at just what Team Avatar did after the war, and what led up to the events in Korra's time. The best place to start our journey is the end of the 100-Year War. Team Avatar would have a series of adventures immediately after the war. These adventures can be read in the comics The Promise, The Search, and The Rift. There are more, but these three are the main comics, with The Search detailing the long-awaited answer to Avatar's greatest mystery: what happened to Zuko's mom? To tell a complicated story simply, Ursa made a deal with Ozai to help him poison his father so he could ascend the throne. As part of the deal, Ursa had to flee and never return, leaving Zuko behind. Once Ursa fled to her childhood home, she was given the opportunity to seek a new life. In the Forgetful Valley, a spirit named the Mother of Faces, not to be confused with Ko the Face Stealer, gave Ursa a new identity as Noriko. Again, a complicated story told simply. To get the full story, we recommend reading the comics. Jumping ahead a little bit into the future, when Team Avatar is all grown up, the main characters begin to grow their own family trees. Beginning with Aang, he and Katara had 3 kids: Kya, Bumi, and Tenzin. Bumi was their first child, and the only non-bender of the 3. Though in Legend of Korra Season 3, he would develop airbending powers during the Harmonic Convergence. Before that, however, Bumi was an accomplished commander of the United Forces 2nd Division. Kya is the second child and a powerful waterbender. While her role in Legend of Korra is not as pronounced, Kya did travel the world to become a world-renowned healer. Finally, there's Tenzin, the youngest and the first airbender to be born in over 100 years. Tenzin would go on to help establish Airbender Island in Republic City with his wife Pema, and would go on to have 4 children: Jinora, Ikki, Milo, and Rohan, all airbenders. When Aang eventually passed at age 166, technically he was only 66, but you gotta add 100 years to that after being frozen, Tenzin is the only airbending master alive, and the only one that could teach Korra airbending. Aang was not the only one starting a family, not by a long shot. Firelord Zuko was creating his own roots. While she isn't shown in Korra, we're led to assume Zuko had his children with Mai. At the end of the Avatar, she is Zuko's strongest romantic interest, but again, she doesn't make an appearance in Korra. In any case, Zuko has 1 child, Izumi, who succeeds him as Firelord. From there, Izumi has 2 children, an unnamed daughter and Iroh. Funny enough, General Iroh is voiced by Dante Basco, the voice of Zuko in the original series. Finally, Toph Beifong has a lineage of her own. Though it is highly contested as to who the father of her children is, she has 2 daughters, Lin and Suyin. Unlike the rest of Team Avatar, Toph's parenting style is a lot like her earthbending teaching style, harsh and chaotic. Lin ended up running Republic City's police force while Suyin was banished and founded Zaofu. After her career as the decorated police chief, Toph decided to disappear into the wilderness to live out the rest of her days as a hermit, only to be rediscovered by Korra in her time of need. Sadly, there's no evidence of Sokka having a family. In fact, we know very little of adult Sokka. One of the leading theories is that he and Toph hooked up, but it has never been confirmed. It was shown that Toph did have feelings for Sokka during The Last Airbender, and it was shown a few times during the comics, but by all accounts, Sokka ended up with Suki. Family is important, but that is by far one of the smallest changes that happened in the world of Avatar. Do you really think the effects of a 100-year war ended with the coronation of Firelord Zuko? Do you really think all the geopolitical issues that came with the war magically got better? Come on, this isn't a Disney movie. It's a Nickelodeon show. The villain was defeated, but there was still a lot of work left. One of the biggest undertakings Avatar Aang had to help create was the Harmony Restoration Movement. The events of the Harmony Restoration Movement take place in the comic The Promise. Shortly after Earth King Kwai was recoronated, he and Aang had proposed that the Fire Nation colonies that were in Earth Kingdom territories back to the Fire Nation. This move brought a lot of conflict and has a storied history even before the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Fire Nation colonies were started by Firelord Sozin when he claimed land in the Earth Kingdom and brought people from the Fire Nation to live there. Avatar Roku confronted him about these colonies, and while he may have defeated Sozin, he never dissolved the colonies. After the war ended, Zuko, Aang, and Kui met to rid the Earth Kingdom of the Fire Nation colonies, with Aang mediating to make sure things were done peacefully. While newer colonies were disbanded easily and without incident, the problem soon arose when it came time to get rid of older colonies put there by Sozin. You see, in the 100 years since their formation, interracial and multi-generational families had called these colonies home. They didn't see the Fire Nation as their home. One of the older colonies, Udao, was strongly opposed to being disbanded. It got to the point where the mayor's daughter tried to take Zuko's life. It became clear that Udao was not only the oldest colony, but also home to the resistance against this harmony restoration movement. Zuko saw firsthand how integrated both nations were, neither fully Fire nor Earth nation. However, a resolution was not going to come easily. Zuko now saw that the citizens of Udao would not feel right in the Fire Nation, and wanted to negotiate with Earth King Kwai to try and compromise. However, Kwai, compensating for his weak leadership in the past, wanted the colony for the Earth Kingdom. He refused to negotiate and instead ordered that Udao be taken by force. Both sides were gearing for war. After 100 years of conflict, it looks like things were going to boil over all over again. However, after a long and complicated string of events, war was avoided with a new compromise brokered by Aang, Zuko, and Kwai. The colony of Udao, along with the older Fire Nation colonies, would merge and elect coalition governments made up of both Fire and Earth Nation representatives. It would soon be merged into the United Republic of Nations. The capital of this newly formed area was Republic City, where the Legend of Korra would chiefly take place. With resources coming from all four nations, Republic City would soon become a thriving metropolis. Given that Republic City is a large city, it would soon come with the problems big cities often have: crime and political unrest. These issues would be addressed with a variety of movements and resources, one of which was the Republic City Police Force. As the world progressed, Republic City became a reflection of the world, since people of all nations could be citizens of Republic City. During Korra's time, a civil war broke out between the southern and northern water tribes. As a result, tensions also rose within Republic City from northern and southern citizens. While the problems Korra faces in her time in Republic City are modern problems, some of their origins did not start with Korra. In fact, two in particular started when Avatar Aang was still alive, in the early days of Republic City. In this last stretch, we're gonna look at Amon and Zaheer. Let's start with Amon. Before becoming the leader of the Equalist movement, Amon was known as Noatak from the Northern Water Tribe. He was a carefree child who looked out for his younger brother. He always wanted everyone to be treated fairly and equally. However, when it was discovered that both he and his brother were waterbenders, their father Yakone was stripped of his bending. Yakone then planned to use his sons as pawns in his revenge scheme against Aang. Noatak became a blood-bending prodigy, surpassing even his father. Because of the constant training and drilling and his father pushing his revenge and hatred into him, Noatak became detached and empathetic. The tension came to a boil when Yakone ordered the two brothers to bloodbend each other to prove who is the strongest. Noatak was victorious but soon turned on his father, stating that because Yakone no longer had any bending, he was weak. He soon fled the Northern Water Tribe and in that time assumed the identity of Amon. During this time, he discovered that with bloodbending, he could strip away someone's ability to bend, just like Avatar Aang. Due to the actions of Avatar Aang, no matter how justified he was, it leads to the creation of a new threat that Korra must now face. However, Amon and the Equalists were not the only threat from the past. Finally, we move to Zaheer and the Red Lotus. The Red Lotus was the opposite of the White Lotus that Uncle Iroh was a part of. Where the White Lotus was a secret society made up of people from all four nations that banded together to pursue philosophy, truth, and beauty, the Red Lotus was an anarchist society bent on dismantling the existing power structures and have humans and spirits coexist. Now, that on its own isn't an inherently bad goal. The problem arose when Zaheer and his cell of the Red Lotus sought to assassinate leaders of other nations in an attempt to bring complete anarchy. Zaheer joined the Red Lotus long ago as a teenager when he learned about Avatar Wan separating Rava and Vatu. To him, he saw this as the Avatar disrupting the balance of the spirit world. Zaheer met up with Unalaq, a fellow Red Lotus member and Korra's uncle who helped early on to kidnap Korra when she was still an infant. They would use her to open up the spirit world and free Vatu from his imprisonment. However, the plan fell apart when Zuko, Sokka, Tenzin, and Tonraq stopped Zaheer and his associates and imprisoned them in high-security White Lotus prisons. While not necessarily influenced by Avatar Aang and the events of the 100 Years' War directly, the Red Lotus was a splinter faction of the White Lotus. Even the conflicts in ideology have ripple effects that can then be seen decades later. Zaheer was not in and of himself an evil person, but his purest beliefs in the teachings of the Red Lotus, whose history spans decades, affected Korra deeply. And that's a good summation of the events that happened between Aang's time and Korra's. Let us know what your favorite event was. We may have left some details out. There's a lot of history to cover. But please, let us know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more CBR content. As always, thanks so much for watching.